So one of the things I just wanted to start off with is sharing our UHR philosophy. So we've got our own tree of people growth when it decides to move. Oops, there we go. And this sets out our, it's not working. Great. This sets out our 4 service lines where we ensure that we embed well-governed operational policies, procedures, best practice, where we make sure that organisational and people development is intrinsically aligned to any organisation, and that we're embracing change at every opportunity as we go along an organisational journey. Overall, obviously making sure that we keep a watchful eye on well-being. So they're the 4 areas of our service line tree of people growth. A bit more around the outcomes from our tree. You can see them there in our service line colours, and a bit about UHR. For us, everything is our strapline. It speaks for itself. No business would exist without people. And at every opportunity, our brand demonstrates just how much we value what we do and strive for the best with our clients. And you can ask any of them. We do always demonstrate that we really do care. Every client we work with, we take them on a journey of organisational growth and create their own bespoke tree. So with that in mind, the session today, I want to take you on a bit of a journey as to how you can start to achieve your new normal and ideally create business growth as a result of going on that journey. So just to say, I'll be covering a lot of ground. So we are in the process of finalising a guide that we're hoping to put out later this week. So swing by our stand if you want to leave us your details, and we can send our guide out to you. Or if you'll get my details at the end of this presentation if you want to ask me directly and share your information with me. So what next? We are in phase 3 of the government's plans. We're moving forward with a lot of change this week, and what a journey the last few months have been. I think now is a time where we can start to look at actually what policies, what processes, what systems, what current practice have we had in place as businesses, and what might be rigid, what's prevented us from being able to change. Some of us may have previously accepted prior to COVID-19 working remotely, working flexibly, or maybe that's been enforced upon you as a result of having to close premises and move everyone out to working remotely. So whilst that might have been an intensive journey to go on, what have we gleaned from that? As I mentioned, we're running a poll to look at what people's feelings are around working remotely, and can that help? You know, if we manage to crack that nut to maintain employee communications, levels of motivation, maintain business performance as we've worked remotely, so can that become part of the new normal? As it helped with work-life balance, as it helped in other areas such as saving costs and other expenses. So could it help you go a bit further with corporate social responsibility goals, for example, reduce more of your carbon footprint or go paperless? Just good practice to focus and become a model employer of choice. You may have seen many of your managers or staff pick up different activities, different responsibilities as you've gone through the lockdown and kind of moving bits about, skill mixing perhaps, upskilling even, focusing on career development if people have stepped up to the plate. So where's that talent that you're spotting, and what are the succession plans that you're putting in place? So there's so much that we can glean from the last few months and the experience that we've had. So taking your employees, the people that work with you, your board, key stakeholders outside of your business on that journey with you as you start to think around what can your new normal look like. Fresh eyes can always help just to, I guess, enlighten what you need to focus on and how you can be leaner, more agile, less complex. So 5 core steps around creating your new normal, and I'm trying to get not distracted from my dog barking outside, so apologies if you can hear that. So what are those imminent changes that you need to introduce? What have you had to face? Have you perhaps had to reduce your headcount or introduce furlough or otherwise? Maybe you've experienced illness as a result of COVID or other absences from work, people with carer responsibility, leaving you short-staffed. Your model perhaps has really gone through quite a degree of different change. Maybe you're experiencing a bit more demand and from your products and your services, depending on what industry you work within, and that's created a positive pressure. So whatever the circumstances, what can you reflect on and really start to kind of foster and nurture and take forwards as you start to build your new normal? Taking the time to think about how you lead and manage others. And obviously, when you look going through change, one of the key things that I always promote is be that person, put yourself in their position and ensure that you're working and treating others as you would expect to be treated yourself. So as you start to think about some of the areas that you might want to be focusing on as you create your new normal, where is your starting point? Where is your A and where is your B that you're trying to get to your new normal destination? And start working backwards from that point, from B. That will start to help you to see what needs to change, evolve, transition, the core areas of your business, sales, the prospective developments that you might have in your pipeline, where your services and your products maybe are changing as a result of your industry or the markets that you're operating in. How are you scrutinizing your financials, ensuring that you've got all of cover in terms of any eventualities that might arise? Your business continuity plans are progressing. So how are you carefully monitoring and managing all of everything that you need to focus on in your business and mitigating risks and managing the issues? And really focusing on the priority areas that you need to concentrate on. Maybe your structure needs to change, maybe it has changed, or maybe as you start to come back to some form of normality, you're looking to introduce some change or changing people's roles, responsibilities, changing your technology. I know that Neil Lawson-Smith's just done a great talk around, particularly if you're working in that remote way, moving forwards, what needs to change in the core areas of your business. Maybe as a result of lockdown, or even if you've continued being able to work during that time remotely or even still on site, maybe you're starting to experience areas of underperformance or people starting to come back to work and struggling, feeling overwhelmed, feeling anxious. There's a number of uncertainties out there still at the moment, as we all, as I said in my slide earlier, watch and wait to see what will start to emerge as a result of getting back to some form of normality. So continuing to really encourage everyone to speak up and share their views and work with you is key. It's a real essential area for leaders in your business, for you as your business leader, to make sure you're sowing the right seeds as you want to move forwards to your new normal. Perhaps you've been accessing, I mentioned furlough, so the job retention scheme, and you're reaching a point where you need to start, coming back into the workplace and possibly considering winding down job retention. Maybe you're even looking at, unfortunately, having to consider redundancies, something critical that's going to have an impact, even with those that do survive in the business, as well as those that you might need to look to lose. So fostering, I guess, the right leadership is critical for those surviving, and as you work through any departures that might need to arise in your organisation. So as the slide here says, have you got the right leadership to ignite and take forwards with you the journey that you want to create to introduce your new normal? So be visibly on the screen or in person if you can, and communicate. I always say to all our clients and the team, communication is key and clarity is king. So as you start to work through what your plans will be for change, I'm sure a lot of you will be familiar with the change curve. So I just wanted to emphasise a couple of bits here around making sure that the areas at the bottom, you can see the reactions there of the stages that you'll go through in change. So as you're mapping out your change journey, start to engaging with your employees, starting to get a sense of where people are at. That will help you to get them back aligned to where you need them to focus on. Being able to support, obviously, the physical and mental health aspects of supporting your employees is crucial. Change brings about a degree of uncertainty, and some people can embrace it easily. Some people really will struggle, and this is going to be change on top of change already. So it's uncharted territory. None of us have been through such an experience before, and your new normal will take time to put in place. You really need to give it the time it deserves and nurture it. Most importantly, obviously, as you're going through, creating your new normal, with a lot of what I've said, if difficult decisions need to be made around the loss of staff, or if you're really going to introduce some radical changes, nurturing your own well-being is vital, and making sure you've got support mechanisms in place to do so. So if you are going through quite a radical change to introduce your new normal, if that's then leading you to look at consultation with your employees in some formal sense. So as you've mapped out your journey of change, you've identified what needs to change, whether that's people returning to work, and you're looking to introduce perhaps some change with contracts of employment, so you can manage future change perhaps. I mentioned restructuring, changing roles. You may be looking to adjust people's pay, responsibilities, as I mentioned. Whatever the areas are, really setting out that who, what, where, when, why, and how is key, and obviously ensuring that equality is maintained throughout. Equal treatment is really going to be an area that will have a lot of focus as we start to move out of lockdown, and the fairness of how people have been treated. So that sound process is, again, really quite a critical area. Going through a meaningful consultation naturally preserves trust, even if it is an element of your personal preference as well as your business rationale that you're setting out. Being open and honest in that approach to let people know what your thoughts and thinking is, and really engaging them to respond back throughout that process. There may well be some people that don't necessarily end up at the same destination as you. They're not willing and wanting to accept that change, but going through that fair process is going to ensure that, again, you've treated everyone equally, you've engaged them in what you're trying to achieve. And sometimes, even if it's not redundancy, it might be someone's time to move on from the organisation. Obviously, we'll be working towards seeing what we can do to prevent that, if at all possible, or it might be just the natural end of someone's working life with you in your business. So that's pretty much it from me on this slides. I hope that the Whistle Stop tour of sharing transactional organisational development areas to create your new normal has been helpful.